Hi, everyone. Say hi, baby. Say hi. Hi. I'm the cutie Deba. Hello. Hi, everyone. Okay, let me go live on Instagram first. Okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay, let me close Instagram so we don't go slow. Okay, let me say hi to everyone first. Fire Butterfly, Leah, AGL, Elaine, Kathleen, Darren, Nigma. Okay, can you hear me okay? I did not realize the mic was so far from me. Um, Let me say hi again. Okay, Fire Butterfly, Leah, AGL, Elaine, Kathleen, Darren, Nigma, JJ, Amy, Leah, Reg Pair, Angel Star, Darren, A Brown, MLB. Hi, Fire Butterfly is also on Twitch. Dodger Girl is also on Twitch. Leah, Nancy, Michelle, Multistan, Linax, James, McLaughlin. This is the first time I've seen you here. Is this your first? Hi, James. Alta. Every James now reminds me of James of Cortis. Alta, Fire Butterfly, Enigma, GD, Bang Luna. Oh, you made it this time. Rona, Saskia, Sandy, Evie, BTS 7 plus 1, Pia, OSP, Abby, Chimi, Eliz, Juveline, Bell, MJD, Amy, um, Wonder Human, Sandy, Lynn, Raquel, first chat. Okay, hi, welcome. Welcome to the chat. Please feel free to participate. You set an alarm. Okay, so we have actually a lot to talk about. So do you want to do the heavy one first so that we can end in a light note? Or do you want to go light and then heavy? So we're going to be talking about, unfortunately, her. And then we're going to talk about some news and updates, concept, which is just my guess on what the concept is going to be about, and some stuff, just things that I want to address given the things that armies are actually some armies keep on expecting from BTS. Okay, and that could affect their future. Yes, please. Heavy, heavy. Okay. So this is one, actually, it's not 100, but 73 slides. And I tried my very best to cut it down because initially it was like 100. And I thought, like, oh, maybe I'm not going to finish everything. So I'll try to. So I cut it down to 73. So I hope it's still very comprehensive, but okay. All right. So, but still long. Okay. So it's just, this is an update on what has happened. The things that developed during the last hearing for the termination her of Min's shareholder agreement with Hybe. Okay. So Hybe asked the court to certify, or yeah, I guess certify that the termination of the shareholders agreement is in place. And so that was what the hearing was about. Now, just a fair warning, the last hearing, only the witness of the prosecution, meaning the witness of Hybe, was cross examined. She was not cross examined, but she was there. Okay, so her turn is going to come on the 27th, I think. So there's another hearing. It will be her turn to cross examine, but this report is primarily what the chief legal officer of Hybe testified. Okay, all right, let's go. Hi guys. Hi Ophelia. All right. So as we know, the second mediation actually collapsed. So they didn't reach any kind of agreement. And so the judge is going to make a decision on October 11th or 17th or something like that. So he will either uphold the exclusive contract, or he's going to let them free. So one of the two. Okay, so just an update on that. She's gonna try and pull another circus again. Correct. I think she's dragging it just in time for the comeback of BTS. Okay, so the witness is Jin Soo Jong. This is him. He's the chief legal officer of HYBE. So the highest corporate office legal officer in HYBE. Okay. CLO is chief legal officer. So he said that the former CEO of ADOR, I'm trying to avoid mentioning her name. So Min met with so one of the things that he discloses that she actually met with a Japanese investor late last year and early this year to secure an investment. Okay, so late last year or early this year, she was still trying to secure an investment from a Japanese company. Now, one of the things now, this Japanese investor got hold of the opinion of Sejong Law Firm, which is the law firm of Min, and it's translated in Japanese. Okay, and in that opinion, the law firm was very confident that they are going to win, that New Jeans will actually win the injunction. Okay, so that's what they said. And so that was her primary selling point to the investors, like, oh, the law firm is very confident that that New Jeans will actually win the injunction, so let's get the money, let's just write the check so that you can be a partner. Hi, Lisa. Okay, so remember though, this is what is one of the odd things is that, um I guess not odd, but it kind of explains it, because last February, New Jeans actually went on a Japanese TV media, or Japanese TV, to criticize Korean media outlets and Korean culture in general. Okay, am I frozen? Am I frozen? Am I frozen? No. Okay. So because someone's saying that I'm frozen. Okay, so um in that TV show, Japanese TV, they criticize Korea's idol system. They criticize Korean media and Korean culture. Okay, and so a lot of people sort of realize that, oh, maybe it makes sense that they go to to Japan to actually do it, because late last year, to get an investor, because late last year, that's also where they went to sort of shit on Korea. Okay. Okay, so that was February of this year. Now, according to the chief legal officer, the meeting took place in the conference room of the new building of a famous investment firm that had given Min various investment advice or shareholder agreement advice. So there's an investment firm that kept on giving Min some advice on what she can do in order to secure the validity of the shareholders agreement. And it was held, the meeting between Min and the Japanese investor actually took place in their press conference, in their conference room, not press conference, in their conference room. Okay, so now when when the CLO of Hybe said that the Sejong law firm had an objection. They said that it's very normal for CEOs to meet with investors. Said it happens all the time. So the CLO responded and said, without informing the major shareholders, because do remember that she owns only 18% of Adore. She's not a majority shareholder. And so the lawyer said, yeah, it's normal if you are a majority shareholder, but in this case, she's not. And then he further said that In other agencies, if the CEO, who is not a majority shareholder, meets with other investors, they would first consult the major shareholders or the board of directors and say their intention, get some advice, and then based on that meeting she will come up with a strategy or decide on whether or not it's actually even worth meeting with the investor in Japan. Okay, now the CLO, the chief legal officer, also testified that based on the Kakao Talk messages that they disclosed, there was an intention. It was planned for Minheejin and the then vice president of ADOR to actually hide the meeting from ADOR. Okay. So he said that they intentionally kept this a secret. There's something going on. This is not just any other meeting. All right. And then he also testified that Min Hee Jin's demands to increase the put option was actually way bigger than initially thought of, because some people were just talking about. Okay, so for you to understand what this is, let's go through the explanation on put option. So in finance, a put option is the right but not obligation to sell shares at the pre-agreed price within a certain time frame. Okay, so if I'm the owner of the shares and Hybe is the company, then I have the option. I have the option to sell them the shares at a specific price, and Hybe will have no right to. They cannot say no. They have to buy it back. That's the agreement. Okay, so that's the finance definition of put option. So for example, if I own shares at 100 each and my put option is 90, okay, even if the share crashes to $10 or 10 won, Hybe still has to buy it for 90 because that's what's on my put option. Okay? So that's in an ordinary like finance industry. However, in corporate agreements, specifically this agreement that Min Hee-jin actually has, th- it means that she has the right to put or sell her shares back to Hybe under certain circumstances. So it's not just a specific price, but under certain circumstances. So the value of those shares will be determined by the multiple of Ador's operating profit or EBITDA. We usually hear that, right? Or similar, some similar metrics. So, for example, to make this clearer, um, if Ador's annual profit is 10 billion won, if the multiplier is 13, because remember the lawyer said that she wanted to increase her multiplier from 13 to 30, okay, 30 times. So in her case, if the annual profit is 10 billion and the multiplier is 13, the company's valuation will be 130 billion. All right. So if the multiplier is 30, if the profit is 10 billion multiplied by 30, then the value on her agreement will be 300 billion won. Okay. So, if she asked, so initially she was asking Hybe to increase her put option from 13 to 30. Now, the lawyer said if that happens, the value of Ador in her agreement is going to be more than the value of Hybe. So they didn't agree. Okay. So, in other words, she simply wanted a much bigger payout if she leaves or if she crashes out or something. So, for example, let's do and then other demands. Okay, other demands out. I will further explain the times 13 and times 30 in a bit. Okay, so her other demands include the sole authority over signing, terminating, and extending exclusive contracts. Okay, so she wants nobody else to have a say but her. And also signing contracts with third parties. And now we know why, because she was really in love with that company. the forget the name of the company, but the guy that the director that usually she partners with for the music videos of New Jeans. So she really loves working with that company, and she wants to not have to ask Hybe for their approval whenever she wants to work with certain providers or third parties. Okay. Around February 2024, another thing that the CLO testified to is around February of 2024, Hybe received a tip that it's not just Minheejin, but other people in ADOR that were going around asking for private equity funds to invest in them, and they're saying that they're planning to become an independent company, Dolphiner, yeah, and that they want to ask for help. So they've been going around. So it's not just Minheejin. By 2024 of last year, it's not just Minheejin, but multiple employees of Adore were actually going around asking or looking for investments. In March, according to him, one of Hybe's major shareholders, it was the one who contacted Hybe. Okay, so they have a major shareholder and they contacted Hybe saying that Min Hee Jin wanted to meet with him and he doesn't know why. So he was like, "Yo, one of your one of your label CEO is actually trying to approach me. I don't know what this meeting is about. I just wanted to give you a heads up because this is suspicious." And he also heard that the vice president who worked under Min Hee Jin was spreading false rumors that Hybe artists were being pushed out, meaning many of Hybe artists are actually leaving the company. Okay, they were spreading that rumors within the industry. And then after that, the CLO said they received an email from the parents of New Jeans complaining about different things, including the alleged um, plagiarism of I'll It. Okay. So she mentioned I'll It several times in this hearing. So it was mentioned several times in this hearing. So the CLO said it was a formal statement. It was a formal email. It was signed by the different parents and it was guided by a lawyer. And so the CLO said that if this was written in good intent, with good intent, if what they wanted was to actually sort of solve a problem, then why resort to this? Why not just request a meeting with us so that we can explain to them what was happening? Instead, they sent us a formal letter, and so the law firm, the legal department said there's something fishy going on. So remember, these are lawyers. This is the thing that they do, right? They analyze things, they come up with suspicions, and they try to prove or disprove that suspicion. So they said that there's something going on. I don't know what it is, but there's something going on. And so that was actually and so he said that in particular the content mentioned a possibility of violating the exclusive contract, and we were worried that they might use this as an opportunity to shake up the artists and take them away. So he was like, they were already coding things about the exclusive contract, some legal matters. This is not normal. And so once they kind of realized that, that's why they decided to do an audit. Okay. She's such a snake. Yeah. Okay, now let's drill down a little bit on the shareholders agreement. So, if Min Hee-jin exercised her put option, Hybe must buy 75% of her Adore stake. Okay? So, if the payout is calculated by multiplying 13 times Adore's average operating profit, then they need to average 2022 and 2023, right? So the average, and then 75% of that multiplied by 13, that is how much is going to get paid. Okay, so the question is, how much did they earn 2022 and 2023? Okay, so In 2022, the operating profit was a loss, understandably, because it was their first year. So they had a 4 billion net loss. Okay. This was the year that New Jeans actually debuted. But things turned by 2023. They had an operating profit of 33.5 billion won, or 25.8 million US dollars. But this is operating profit, not net profit. Okay, but their net profit is still good. Okay, but not as big, but still good. Now, I know because you guys are nosy, because you guys are very curious. I know that you're going to want to know, okay, but how much is that? How much is their share compared to the overall, compared to other labels in Hive? Okay, so I prepared that for you. All right. So for context, in 2023, the operating profit of Hive in general, overall, my dog's fur. Okay. Overall is 227.6 million US dollars, or 295.8 billion. Okay, so that's the overall operating profit of Hive. So out of that, the contribution of ADOR is 25.8 million USD. All right. Okay, so again, operating profit. Let's go to the net profit and see how much they actually contributed compared to other agencies, and how much of the overall net profit actually came from New Jeans. Okay, they're not. This is, by the way, one of the reasons New Jeans was actually, that she was getting favors from Bang Shiok, was because New Jeans was doing really well. Okay, so I'm, don't ever think that I'm shading them, because they did really well based on the numbers. Okay, so for context, this is the net profit per agency. Big Hit Music, the net profit, net revenue is 106 million US dollars. So they still were the biggest contributor. Big Hit, at this time, everyone was, they were already taking their break. Some of them were already enlisting. I'm talking about BTS. Okay, so but also TXT contributed to this because they toured that year. So they contributed 106 million US dollars. Hype Japan, which is considered a very small company, smaller than Adore, contributed 31.2 million US dollars. Pledis contributed 45.4 million US dollars. This is the agency of 17. Source Music, at that time, the only act that they had was Les Seraphim, and they were still very much paying off their debts at that time, 19.07 million. And then Cause, or KOZ Entertainment, they had a negative of $5,600. Okay, Adore contributed 20 million. So it is 20%. It is 20% of what Big Hit contribute, of the biggest contributor. All right. So who is under KOZ? Boy Next Door. Boy Next Door. Okay. So what happened, because I know you're going to be curious again, what happened in 2023. So the only group activity of BTS in 2023 was Take Two. That was the only thing that they released for Festa. And it's not even like a formal CD, because it was free. They just released a music video. And of course, their annual gift to be two armies during Festa. Okay, my dog wants to say bye. Okay, say bye, baby. Okay, bye. You need to go to the dentist. Your bad breath. And say bye. Hey, bye bye. Bye bye. Okay. The 20% is 20% of Big Hit's income, not 20% of Hybe's income. They were like 8% of the general income of Hybe. They contributed about 8% of the general income of Hybe. Okay, so hope that's clear. So outside of the Take Two, oh, thank you. Thank you, Fire Butterfly. Debak, you have for Debak and for the website. Okay, thank you. I'll split it. for his tweets and for the website. Thank you, Fire Butterfly. Okay, so outside of Take Two, the only thing that they released was Yet to Come film. Okay, the one that they did in Busan, the concert they did in Busan. Okay, so that's the only group activity. They did have a lot of albums. They released a lot of albums. So they had J-Hope enlisted that year, April 18. And then Suga had D-Day. He released D-Day, but he also started and ended his world tour, a very short world tour. Jimin released Face. RM released Indigo. V released Layover. Jungkook released Golden of that year. And then Jin enlisted December 13, but also released Astronaut. Okay. All right. So these are the numbers just in case, because in the next slide I'm going to show you how many albums TXT sold and their contribution. So just to make it clear, these are the number of albums that they sold per release. So for Face, it's 1.45 million, Layover 2.10 million, Golden 2.14 million, 2.147 million, D-Day 1.27 million, and Indigo 626,000 copies. So okay, these are individual members and not a lot of promotion because they were pressed for time at this right around this time. They didn't have a lot of time. Okay. So they still sold a lot of albums. Now, outside of BTS, of course, there was TXT and they contributed a lot. They released Next Chapter Temptation and they sold 2.18 million copies. And they also landed number one in US Billboard 200 with 161,500 copies sold in the US alone. But more importantly, they started their second world tour, Act Sweet Mirage, which began March 2023. Okay, so they were also a big contributor. So there were two tours under Big Hit: D-Day, August D, and this one. Okay. Unfortunately, other members couldn't tour. Now, under the shareholders agreement, Min actually owns 573,160,000 ADOR shares, which is equal to 18%. Okay. So the estimated payout is 26 billion won if the shareholders agreement is upheld. They are going to have to pay her 26 billion. The question is, how did that actually come about? How did we arrive at not at that number? So remember that according to that shareholders agreement, Hybe is required to buy back 75% of her total shares. Okay. And then multiply that by 13. Okay. So 20, we averaged 2022 and 2023 um, profit. So a zero point 0.4 billion loss in 2022, 33.5 billion won profit in 2023. The average is 14.75 billion won. So this is your number that you need to remember, the 14.75 billion won. Okay. So from there, we multiply this by 13. We multiply the 14.75 billion by 13 and we will arrive at 191.75 billion. Math is not my strongest suite, but I trained my AI to actually make this computation. I hope he's right. Okay, but I also manually checked it. So this is the implied valuation under the put option formula. Okay. Now, because according to the shareholders agreement, ADOR has to buy back. And so of the 191.75 billion, he owns 18% of that, right? According to the shareholders agreement. That means she owns 34.515 billion won because we multiplied by 13. All right. So, and then Hybe or ADOR needs to buy back 75% of her 34.515 billion. That means 25, exactly 25.886 billion or 26 billion. If we convert that into US dollars, she will receive 19.9 US dollars. Now, she owes Bang Shiyuk 13 million. So she'll need to pay back 13 million of that goes back to Bang Shiyuk. Then she will be left with 6 million. Still a lot of money, dude. So, okay, so that's how the computation came about. And that is the difference between a finance put option and a corporate put option according to her contract. Okay, a lot of money. Okay, she hasn't paid Bang Shiyuk back. Had they raised the put option from 13 to 30, she would have been paid 46 million US dollars. If they agree. If had they agreed, they didn't agree. But had they agreed, then she would have actually earned 46 million dollars. Okay. With her legal bills, probably, yeah, yeah. Unless she asks Hybe to pay them. Okay, so now the dispute, the claim of Hybe is that Min's put option rights expired already. So they said it expired. She terminated the shareholders agreement July 2024, 4 months before she exercised it. Okay. So July 2024 is when she terminated the shareholders agreement. And then so July, August, September, October, November is when she exercised the put option. Now Min Heejin is saying, nope, I'm still entitled to it because I exercised the put option before the contract was terminated. Okay, so these are two opposing claims, but that's where the dispute is coming from. Now, I know that Hybe has another basis for it. They're saying that she actually violated the shareholders agreement. Okay. Now, Kakao Talk logs reveal that Min Hee-jin commissioned a journalist, his name is Kim Do-hon, to write a dispatch article comparing Isle It to New Jeans. So there was a post about this article on the coup and was subsequently cited as public opinion evidence of similarities between the groups. So remember, Min Hee-jin's group, Sejong, actually presented to the court public opinion as a basis for plagiarism. So what they're saying is, look, the public thinks it's plagiarism. So it is plagiarism. That's essentially what they're saying. And part of what they actually used as an evidence would be posts on public forums, comment on X, comment on different forums in South Korea, and different news magazines in South Korea. So they said if the public perceives that this is plagiarism, then it must be plagiarism. Okay. Now, this changes it because they're saying that they have proof that they actually commissioned a reporter, most likely other reporters as well, to write an article comparing Eyelet and New Jeans, implying that there are similarities. So this is not an organic opinion. This was manipulated because a journalist, a credible journalist, supposedly actually wrote about it. And so this is the article in question. It was a dispatch article. And this is supposedly a review of Isle Its work. Um, okay. But New Jeans was actually, bless me, sorry. So New Jeans was actually mentioned 16 times in that article. This is the article that they were talking about. So supposedly a review, but 16 times New Jeans was mentioned, and that actually steered the opinion of the public to think that there was plagiarism or there is similarities. Also, a Kakao Talk log showed that Min Hee-jin discussed filing the FTC complaint against Hybe. So all of these troubles that Hybe is going through, the FTC, the financial department, it could be, what they're saying is that this could still be a part of Min's plan because there is an evidence or there is a Kakao Talk message between her and the former executive of Hybe talking about filing an FTC complaint. Okay. All right. So So outside of that, so that's already tampering with evidence. But it's not, what Hybe is saying is that it's not the only log that she manipulated. She actually manipulated a lot of things. So Hybe, in fact, presented what it claimed to be the original version of the Kakao Talk exchange that Min submitted to the court. And they're saying that if you compare this to the one that you are holding that was submitted by her and Sejong, it's very different. They omitted a lot of sentences and a lot of words. And people, don't do that to the court. This is not a legal advice, but a practical advice. Don't lie to the court. Don't submit manipulated evidence. Do not lie. Don't. The court is one institute that you do not want to lie to. Okay. Um. So just don't ever do this. If you submit a document, please make sure that you're not omitting anything. You're not adding anything, and you're being 100% honest. Okay, that's, you do not want the court to catch you. Oh my god. Okay, so they're saying that look, this is what she submitted to you, and this is what the entirety of the exchange is. So they're going to you're going to see that she omitted a lot of sentences and a lot of lines. Okay, so example, um I'm going to, this is some of the sentences that she omitted. I'm going to capture this Kakao Talk, use it well. So meaning she's going to screen cap it, the conversation, and then she's asking the person she's sending to use it. Okay. Another is that it's time to act from now on, go again. And then there are instructions of her asking the other person to delete certain lines of the exchange. Okay. So she's evil personified. All right. So the Kakao Talk conversation reportedly involved an ADOR executive. So this is the same vice president that she was talking about, which is going to actually uh yeah, she's going to drop her later. So um she's going to drop him later. Okay, and Hybe executive in January 2024, just before tensions between Hybe and Min escalated into a public management rights conflict. Now, Min allegedly submitted the exchange as proof that Hybe executives were pressuring her and her associates, framing it as a part of circumstances leading to her resignation as ADOR CEO. So once those lines were omitted, and those weren't the only three lines that were omitted, there were a lot more, but there's she's there Hybe is saying that once those lines were omitted, it seemed like we were putting pressure on her. But as you can see, if you put back the lines, it changes the context of the entire conversation, and it's clearly her setting up public opinion against Hybe. Hybe also presented, the CLO, the chief legal officer, presented Project 1945. This is so odd because 1945 was an important date for Korea. Okay, so she named this entire operation 1945. And in that, there is a clause that says Le Seraphim 219, I'll it 325 under chart manipulation. The judge actually asked the lawyer, what is that about? What's chart manipulation, and what are those dates? And the lawyer said that, well, the 219 is at the debut date of Le Seraphim, and 325 is the debut date of I'll It. And so he said that, well, apparently, even before the debut of I'll It, her attack plan, or her plan to make people believe and incite people against I'll It, was already in motion. She wanted people to think that I'll It actually plagiarized New Jeans even before debut. So it was already in place. 219 is Le Seraphim's target. So in particular, okay, so I would say that even before the debut, I'll It was already a target of minheejin. Now, another thing, March 29, 2024, still being presented by the CLO, there was a record of a meeting between the parents of New Jeans and Min Hee Jin. And in the minutes, there was actually preparation for attacks and public opinion campaigns targeting those two groups, I'll It and Le Seraphim. Okay, so it is on record the parents were there. So the next question a lot of people are asking is like, should they be held liable as well? Okay, some of the things that were written in that meeting is researching staff controversy. So they're going to dig deep into the staff and the trainees of the entire Hive company and see who they can hook and actually throw under the bus for this one. Any kind of shady deals, shady association, dark past, anything of that nature, they are going to use all of those and throw it against Hybe and frame Hybe as if they are a company that employs irresponsible people, misogynist, racist, whatever ist you can think of. Okay. Investigating community and social media. So any comment that they can attribute to Hybe, malicious comment that they can attribute to Hybe, or they also want to scour social media for comments or sentiments against Hybe. Okay. Same concept photos, New Jeans copycats. And so this is one of the things that they used as a proof that even before I'll It debuted, she was already planning to claim that they copied the concept of New Jeans, even though it's so far. The two groups are so far in terms of concept. Intentional use of media hype is a problem, and then doing nothing is a loss. So those are some of the notes. Okay. Next is it also they also submitted instructions on how to leak information to reporters, mentioning a specific journalist in a media outlet. So in the evidence that the lawyer of Hybe submitted, they actually said that it contained how they will leak the information to reporters, but specifically to some reporters, and they named those reporters. Okay, so if those reporters actually ended up publishing their articles, then they can prove that, or at least circumstantially, they can establish the link that the plan to leak the information to these journalists actually happened. Okay. Now, same day as this meeting, she's saying, same day as the meeting of the parents with Min Hee-jin, Min sent Kakao Talk messages to Shin Dong-hun and Yi Sang-woo with instructions. These are the vice presidents in ADOR, and she's giving them instructions. One is pushback plan change. Send first around April 3. We are preparing public opinion campaign and reply and unleash after the 11th. So this is her giving them specific instructions on when and what to start the public opinion campaign. Now, Min Hee-jin claims she actually had the chance to talk, and she claimed that I'll It boosted their sales to break New Jeans' first week debut sales record. So that's what they're saying. That it has I'll It has always, or at least Bill Lift actually has always targeted the record of New Jeans. And one of the ways they did that is that one of the ways she proved it, that they manipulated the sales of I'll It, was the sales record. So she presented an evidence, a record of the daily sales of I'll It's albums. And at the end of the first week, the sales actually went up. So by a lot, by 300,000, I think, or less than 300,000, by 250,000. So she said that, see, they inflated the numbers. Because the trend was going down, and suddenly on the last day the sales went up. The problem with that is that even New Jeans sales records did the same. So as you can see, on the last day there's always a boost. So from 292 to 311, so there's always an increase. So it's the same for I'll It. They touched 300,000 on the last day. Okay. So it won't hold, basically. Okay. So just to make it clear. So the first day is 262,800 plus thousand, right? This is for New Jeans. And then all the way to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 day, the sales was like 5,000. And then on the last day, the sales went up 18,300. So it's the same pattern. And so with the 18,300, they actually touched 311,000 in total for the first week. But it's the same pattern as Isle on the last day they touched 300,000 and there was like a boost on the last day. So as you know, even to armies, we actually do this, right? We look at the records and say, okay, this is the last week of streaming. Can we go all out for this last day? And then we can start again the next day, right? We do that. So most likely, and that's not just armies, a lot of fandoms actually do that. So it's most likely the same thing. Fans were looking at the numbers and we're going, okay, we need an extra boost. Come on, let's buy. Just my speculation. Okay. All right. So in 2023, New Jeans reportedly had around 1.6 million unsold copies of Get Up sitting in inventory, even with the last day of sales surge of 300,000 to 300,000. The numbers still fit Minheejin's own definition of stockpiling, suggesting that the New Jeans sales may have been artificially inflated. So it's basically saying, well, your album sales and Eilit's album sales actually are consistent with each other. So if you are accusing stockpiling, if you're accusing Eilit of stockpiling, then you did the same thing because you had the same pattern. Okay. Some sales points may report the last day, correct. So some sales, yes. Okay, now other developments outside of that. I tried to do it as fast as I could. So Bang Shuyuk gave Min Hee-jin a 13 times put option with 100 billion won, and she called this. So according to CLO, after Bang Shuyuk gave her 13 times put option, way more than all the other put options given to other CEOs of other companies under Hype, she still called it slave contract. What she wanted was 30 times. It's just that we didn't give it to her. But primarily because if we give it to her, her share, what we need to pay her will actually exceed the value of the entirety of ADOR. So it doesn't make sense. That's why they did not agree. Now, Min Hee-jin, according to the CLO, outside of that, so that's set aside. And then another thing that she brought up is that Min Hee-jin caused problems in multiple departments during her time at Big Hit. Okay. So remember, trainee A, okay, so what he's actually saying is that she's had clashes with multiple departments, not just with Beadlift, but even when she was under Big Hit and she was doing the branding and all of those things, she was causing a lot of problems. Okay, Hybe corrected Min Hee-jin's lies in real time and displayed the facts on the monitor. So what was happening was that, according to the reporters, what was happening was that while whenever she makes a claim, Hybe will actually be ready to correct her claims and they will actually put the evidence on the screen. So, like for example, the put option, all of those were ready. The sales report of aisle 8, they were ready with Nugent sales report. So it would always be quick and it will always be in real time. Okay. And because according to them, many times Sejong was actually pretty surprised with the things that the CLO was saying and CLO was presenting. And whenever he would submit something as an evidence, they seem to not have been prepared for it. Okay. CLO's tampering evidence comes directly from the investors and advertisers of Min Hee-jin, meaning all of the Kakao Talk messages that he presented, that he claimed to not be tampered with. So she submitted Kakao Talk logs, but those were tampered with. And then Hybe submitted their own version that they are saying is not tampered with. It actually came from the investors and advisors of Min Hee-jin. So they were the ones who provided the logs of the Kakao Talk messages. So it wasn't illegally obtained because one of the parties actually submitted the logs. Sejong became very angry at the CLO and actually began yelling at the CLO. And it happened allegedly several times. And then at one point, which made the judge laugh, is that Sejong admitted they knew nothing about the criminal justice. So the judge, I'm not quite sure why they ended up talking about criminal justice or something, but the lawyers of Sejong said we don't know anything about it, and the judge actually laughed at that. I would have to. And then Sejong letter shown to Min Hee-jin's Japanese investor claiming New Jeans would win. Okay, so they presented the letter of Sejong, the letter that Sejong presented to the Japanese investors. So the letter is translated into Japanese, and in that letter they were guaranteeing that New Jeans will actually win the injunction. And allegedly, every time Sejong asked if Hybe had any kind of evidence with whatever it is that they were saying, Hybe would actually submit the evidence in real time. So, for example, do you have any evidence that this log, actually, this Kakao Talk log, came from the investors of ADOR? They would produce the record. So it was in real time. They were actually doing it in real time. Okay. And then this is another thing. Min Hee-jin would misquote the judge as if he wasn't there. So she would talk, and she would say like, "Oh, the judge said this," and the judge was like, "No, I did not say that." So the judge would actually correct her in real time. So that was funny to me, but and I don't know how many times it happened, but according to the reports, it happened several times. The lawyer was like, "Wait a minute, I did not say that." And then, as I've said, she actually threw the vice president under the bus because she claimed that the Project 1945 was all because of the ADOR VP Yi Sang-woo. So she's saying that she has nothing to do with it, and it was all because of the former VP of ADOR. So she's cleaning her hands. She's not saying that it does not exist, that it isn't relevant. She's just saying that she has nothing to do with it. It was the VP of ADOR that started it. Now, according to Hybe CLO, the prosecution has ordered a supplementary investigation into the police decision not to indict Min Hee-jin for breach of trust. If you would remember, the police said we're not going to indict her. Now, the prosecution actually requested the police to revisit it because there must be and this is not the first time. There is an actual precedent in this where the prosecution requested the police to do an investigation. They did, and then eventually she was indicted. Okay, so great strategy, piss off the judge. I know what I was like. What the hell? Of all the people that I've always said, like, you do not want to piss off the court. Please, people, don't do that. If you ever are going to testify or whatever, or going to court, don't ever lie. Don't ever be. Please, that's not a legal advice, but just a practical advice. Okay, now, after that, after the trial, Min Hee-jin actually gave an interview to Sports Donga. And this is the publication that often airs her side of the story. And she's saying that media coverage reflected one-sided questions from Hybe's legal team, and that she hasn't gotten her chance to be in the stands. And her chance is actually going to come on November 27, 2025, urging that the reported content so far may not be accurate or fair. Okay, she's not done yet though. After that, as you know, Bang Shiyuk actually went to the police station for questioning. He was questioned for 14 hours or something. Right after that, Min Hee-jin provided an interview to reporters stating that Bang Shiyuk actually told her there was no plan to go public. She claimed that there was no plan to go public, and she said that there were a lot of other agencies offering her a job, but she decided to stay with Hybe because she trusted Bang Shiyuk. Now, she's saying that Bang Shiyuk told her that there are no plans to go public, and it's better if the bonus will be converted into cash based on her performance. All right. So now people are like, "Oh, they think that it's actually Min Hee-jin who reported Hybe to the police and to the finance department to start this investigation." So that's what a lot of people are thinking. Personally, I don't know how that's going to happen considering she wasn't an early investor. She didn't even actually put in money. right? So she was loaned money by Bang Shiyuk. So she never got hold of that money. She was loaned money by Bang Shiyuk so that she can purchase her share. After ADOR was already in place. So she's not an early investor. So I'm not sure why they would think that she's one of the why the media would think that she's one of the early investors. Now, unless what the media is implying is that because Bang Shiyuk promised her that there will be no IPO, she was probably counting on that she will have complete control over ADOR, and that's why she signed with Bang Shiyok. Maybe. Is it possible that it was actually her that reported Hybe to the police and to the finance department? Everything is possible. But right now, we don't have any proof. All we know is that she actually granted an interview after the questioning of Bang Shiyok, the 14-hour interrogation of Bang Shiyok. Was she even hired yet in 2019? I think she was, probably latter part of 2019. And but she was at that time still a branding manager. So she wasn't the CEO yet. Her being a CEO came after. So yeah. But none of the shareholders who sold before High became public weren't the ones who went to the police. So far, no one knows who's behind the lawsuit or who's behind this complaint. She probably said that just to cause more trouble for Bang Shui. Probably. Um, the one thing that we all need to consider is that the as the comeback of BTS approaches, once they actually make a comeback, once BTS uh makes a comeback, no one's really going to pay attention. Like, a lot of people are going to lose interest in this case, and they're just going to concentrate on BTS. And most likely, the next promotion of BTS will be extended, as I've mentioned. This is just my speculation. I have no proof of this, but my guess is that this is going to be an extended promotion, primarily because after this, they're going to go on their individual activities, individual projects. And I think this time they're not going to hold themselves back anymore, because the last time or the first time they did their individual projects, they were bound by time. It was like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. But I think this time they're just going to go, okay, I'm going to go on a world tour if I want to go on a world tour. And so they are going to have that extended period where they can't come back together as a group, because each member is still doing their individual activities. So to in preparation of that, I think this comeback is going to be a little longer. And when they do that, BTS, when they make it rain, right? They're not like, okay, we're going to drop one album, they're going to go on tour and then see you when I see you. They're not like that. Like, even when they are on tour, they actually um uh they provide they continue to release materials, they continue to do things. And so the interest of the public, yes, that's my speculation, just Joy. Yes, that's just my speculation. So I premised by saying that this is my speculation. So if that happens, a lot of the attention is gonna come to them, right? And so people are just gonna they will just take over the news. So the one way to ensure that the attention will not that they will be able to sustain, meaning this case will sustain the interest of the public, is by steering this thing very early, so that by the time BTS makes a comeback, this one is still just building up. Even when they do individual things, they usually have a group material ready also. Yeah, and as I've said, my wishful thinking, and this is my wishful thinking, is that they will do something every festa, every anniversary. So even if they end up, like for example, touring for a year, a lot of groups actually end up touring for a year so that they have enough rests in between. If they end up doing a tour for a year, I would my hope is that every festa, they will still make a comeback. Just like a small, the same thing that they do. Give us something during festa. So I have absolutely no doubt that BTS will be isolated from this in terms of their success. I think at this point, at least for me, this is my point of view. At least for me, I think BTS is sort of detached from all of this already, right? The same way, if there is trouble in Universal Music, for example, or Atlantic, we don't think that Bruno Mars did something wrong, right? Just like, okay, they're signed to that agency, okay. but but it doesn't mean that they are going to be affected or people are not going to buy their album because there's trouble in the management of Hybe or something. So I think BTS has reached that level that their fans will not act. I certainly won't care. So it's just that these people that are trying, the haters, are the ones that will try and drag them into it. But going back to my original point, I think the objective, and again, this is just my assumption, the objective to try and steer this thing and stretch it for as long as they can is because they want to extend it until BTS actually makes a comeback. But speculation. How about OT7 Live? Um, they have stated they are BTS for years, decades, and solo projects are essentially side projects to enhance BTS. Um, yeah, I also don't want to take it away from them. I mean, they are great artists on their own. They've always reiterated their commitment to BTS, but I also want to see them as, like, if I see Jungkook on stage or Jimin on stage or V or any of the seven members, they are their own person. Like they are accomplished on their own, and a lot of their success, of course, was initiated by BTS. But I want to think that a lot of people will also look at them, and especially those that are not very much into K-pop, a lot of people are going to look at them and say, hey, they are great individual performers, they are great performers on their own. I still postulate that they really don't have any idea how big BTS is. I don't think they do. I don't think anybody does, primarily because we don't really got to witness it. One of the things that um people miss is that they actually didn't have a chance to do a proper stadium tour. So Love Yourself and Speak Yourself. Speak Yourself was an encore of the Love Yourself tour. And Love Yourself was actually, like, more than half of that was arena. So we didn't actually get to witness BTS selling stadiums after stadiums after stadiums. So no, so you're right that no one actually really still, like, have a concrete idea on how powerful and how influential and how popular they are, primarily because we never got to see it. Before we actually got the chance to witness it, COVID happened. So I still think that people are going to be surprised just how popular they are. It will be seven next years. I'm sorry, I missed that. It will be 7 years next year since they last toured a full tour. Yes, yes. Speaking of which, let's talk about Mr. JK taking over New York Fashion Week. How about that? BTS doesn't even know how big BTS is. Correct. Even they don't know how big they are. Everyone will know them once they tour. They are their own persona. Yeah, they are. I've always looked at BTS as one entity and then seven individual entities. Um, I just don't like taking away from them as individual performers. They're great on their own. I mean, even we've heard them talk about that. Like, they want to develop their own personality, their own creative pursuits. So I don't want to take away from their individual greatness, but they still are a part of BTS. Okay, so yeah, Jonko, I was saying that there was one of the feedback that I got is that the models look miserable in the New York Fashion Week. So usually the designers would tell them, there were like three people who messaged me like, why do they look miserable? Um, the designer usually tells the models what kind of look they want, like what kind of feel and look they actually want. Second thing that I think I didn't actually get a clear view of how long of the entire crowd in that street. I can hear the loud screams when he got off the car, and you can see like, my God, that was like loud, loud, like that's really loud. But then I don't know why they didn't have like an earshot of that. So I was like, I wish there's like I can see how long the line is. You can see, you can hear from the sound of the screaming. I could imagine it was way over the next block, but I did not see any shot of that. Um, Not sure what CK was going for, but not my cup of tea. um, CK has always been known for like classic casual style. So I think that that was what they were going for, just my guess. There were a few pieces that I liked, but we also have to understand that what you see on the ramp is usually not designed for everyday wear. So that's not like those things that they presented on the ramp will not necessarily look like that when you go to their store to buy it. They usually alter it because there's a different. I don't know if you watch Project Runway, but they often explain the difference between the piece on the ramp and the piece on the store. So but I think the whatever Jungkook wore actually worked because he was wearing it. He made it work. Do I think that they were able to sort of maximize what he can do with the clothes? I don't think so. But it's CK. That is their style. It's supposed to be casual. It's supposed to be for everybody. So I get it. I get it. I get why it's monotone and it's very simple. I like his outfits, but in my opinion, JK looks great in anything. Oh yeah, as I've said, he was the one who made it work. Wears Prada explains it for me. Yeah. I liked his outfits, but in my okay. So yeah, I think that was the other thing is that um I wish there was more coverage, but I don't know. Maybe CK also sort of didn't expect that kind of a reception from JK, but I was hoping that they would do more to maximize this presence for CK. They could have easily taken over the entire street or the entire block or three blocks from there, whatever. So I wish there was like more activities for the fans just to entice them to stay and participate because that would add to their mentions, right, to their media mentions. That was the only thing, but other than that, I mean, we're all there. I wasn't there, but I mean, we're all watching because of JK. So and JK did great. JK does love monochromatic clothing. Yes, he did. Yeah, I'm a fashion connoisseur, so trust me, I have been following the fashion industry since my early stages in life. When Lisa first placed one foot in the B house of Celine, they were not ready. I think Celine had a better plan for V. Well, that could explain it because they had Lisa. So they kind of know how to maximize Lisa's presence. So I think of course I'm sure that there's a plan for a long-term partnership for JK. So maybe in the next one they will be able to maximize him. Like yeah. But I love, like, I saw that short interview that JK had, and he was asked if he has when was the last time he did an all nighter. That was like a cute interview. But or maybe there are more materials that they're going to be releasing in the next several weeks. They're just planning it, just spreading it out. Who knows, right? Celine also had more experience with V and his celebrity. Okay. I hope Suga does Valentino next month. Everyone's hoping that they will all go to the Paris Fashion Week. Let's see if they're going to actually go. They're in the middle of their preparation. So, yes. Is Jimin going to participate in the Fashion Week? I hope so. Yeah. Well, it all depends on their contract. So, whatever they put in their contract is what they will end up doing. Okay. You want to go to the next topic? Do you have questions about this? I just think that his great body was drowning in the suit. I actually liked what he was wearing when he left the airport. I mean, when he was in the airport leaving South Korea for New York. I like what he was wearing. So I saw somewhere that J Hope, Jimin, and V will be doing Paris Fashion Week. I saw that. Let's see. While Suga will be in Italy, October 5. Anyone else hear about that? It's all over. It's all over X. No confirmation yet. I'd be happy, of course. That would be exciting. And I hope that they are ready for the boys. If they actually attend, if those three are in Paris, oh my God. I hope they're ready because, oh my gosh. In one area, um, okay. RM in Milan. Mr. Lee is still in the area. They're pulling the Mr. Lee actually looked like he should also be an influencer. The airport. Yeah, I like his airport fit better. Yeah. Okay, you want to go to the next topic? Suga may skip it because the BTS album comes first. Well, that's my only apprehension when I heard the news. It's like they're in the middle of their preparation. My gut feel, this is again speculation, is that they're going to release a single before they release the album. Calvin made a mistake with that suit. JK, JK, he made it work. JK was drowning in it, and that bland color. No, he made it work though. JK was the only thing that made it work. The trench was nice. Okay, so before I go into my next topic, let's talk about just some things that armies consistently engage in, that I would advise doing. Um, but before I start this, I just want to let everybody know that I'm not going to be talking about politics. So if you have questions about, like, why is that policy there? Why is that law there in place? This is not, I'm not the right person to ask. This is not the right live stream to ask it. I'm not an expert on why a policy is there, on how policies are actually made. So go to, if you want to question the policies and the laws and what's happening, you just go to another person and another place, not this one. So my only concern in this is how the policy can affect them. Now, why the policy is there, that's not me. Not me, and not this blog, and not this live stream, and not this YouTube channel. Okay? So please don't ask me why or whatever. Please. All right. We're just going to talk about BTS and that's it. Okay. So some things that might happen in the next 6 months is that there is actually a move for media and content creators to be held accountable for intentionally providing the wrong information. So freedom of the press still there, but if you intentionally provide the wrong information, then you might actually be held liable. So if anybody files a complaint and they're actually able to prove that you intentionally misled people by providing the wrong information, then you may be held liable. So one example would be malicious snipping. So for example, if there is a video, you cut it and made it appear as if it is something else. For example, if you are a friend of one of the BTS members and you made it appear as if you are a couple, and distributed a video or a photo implying, even though you're not directly saying it, that you are a couple, then you may be held liable. Okay, so that's one. Another thing, if there is a statement, you snip it, you cut it, and then publish it. For example, Kakao Talk messages. Right? If you snip that, publish the snipped interview, meaning the cutout interview, and that information leaks out and it gives the wrong idea to the public, then you may be held liable. The important thing here is that this is not exclusive to the media, it also extends to content creators. Okay, so even to people like me, who is not big, we don't have TV stations, we don't have big newspapers, no radio stations, we still are going to be held liable for that. Okay, so remember, even if it is like a video, it actually transpired, but you snipped it and you made it appear as if Jin proposed to you, then you will be held liable. Okay. All right. KK. I hope that's clear. Um, Now, people are going to be worried, but like, okay, what about freedom of speech? Because that's the First Amendment in the US. You can still state your opinion. That is not a problem. Funny edits too. For as long as it does not defame the person. So based on, if you watch my interview with the entertainment lawyer, he actually explained that freedom of expression is actually to protect the citizens from the government. It's not to protect the citizens from other citizens. It's primarily to protect the citizens from the government, because you want to be able to criticize your own government, right? You want to be able to say that you suck. But you can't defame another person. It doesn't mean that you can just tell somebody you suck. Well, you can probably just tell somebody you suck, but not like distribute, like, yeah, distribute lies about another person. You can't say RM and Jin are married when RM already said that they're not married. I'm just joking. He was the one who started it, by the way. Okay, so yes, even any kind of edit, anything that you do, that defames the person, it destroys the reputation of the person, you may be held liable for that. Okay, so example, if you edit a speech, an interview, and at the end product actually put the statement out of context, then you will be held liable. And again, this is not just limited to the media, not just the traditional media, but even to content creator. And as I've said, of course, there's still freedom of speech, but remember, and you can still state your opinion, but you have to be very clear that this is your opinion and not the fact, and not a fact. And another thing, the greatest test of an opinion is that it can never be proven, according to the lawyer that I interviewed. So just go back to my interview to that lawyer, and he explained it. An opinion cannot be proven. Okay. But if what you're saying is your opinion, but it may be disproven or proven, that's not an opinion. So you may be held liable. Example of an opinion. Had Suga been 10 inches higher, I think he could easily take LeBron James. That's an opinion, because there's just absolutely no way in hell we can actually know whether Suga can actually take on LeBron James if he was 10 inches higher, taller. Okay. So again, an opinion cannot be proven. That's an opinion. Other than that, if it can be disproven or proven, then yes, that is not an opinion. Okay. And this actually might be, this is in the US. This is in the US. Yes. However, Ophelia, they can take this to the Hague Convention. So if you would remember, when I interviewed the lawyer, he explained the Hague Convention, and he said that the Hague Convention is actually a place, and that's where different countries came together, and they sort of made a pact. They signed an agreement saying that the contracts and general laws of a country will be honored in another country in certain circumstances. So, for example, if I am signed in a management contract in South Korea, I can't just sign a different management contract in the US. Okay, because the US will honor my contract in that South Korean management company. So that's one of the things, okay? And that's just an example. So if you want to go through the entire agreement in Hague Convention, it is published. But so in Hague Convention, your liability in one country will be upheld by another country. So if they take this law in the Hague Convention, then whatever happens in the US will be honored in South Korea, and whatever happens in South Korea will be honored in the US in entertainment, laws, media, stuff like that. Okay. All right. Now, also remember in certain countries, the rights of a visitor, if you're not a citizen of that country, you have very limited rights because you're just visiting, right? So you don't enjoy the same rights as a citizen of America. All right. So, for example, um, if you remember this Kick streamer, he caused some unrest in 7-Eleven in South Korea, and he actually is going to go on trial. He asked for an apology, and South Korea said no. He said he was drunk and he didn't mean it and whatever, and South Korea said no. So they're holding him. He's going to be tried for a crime, and as of now we don't have any updates, but that's an example of um how you have limited freedom in your own country. In the US, if you do that, for example, if you vandal something, then you might be cited for vandalism. But in South Korea, that is not their laws. And so they're honoring their law. Okay. All right. I hope that's clear. So in the US, just like in South Korea, they can do what they want to do with you if you commit a crime. So if you incite rebellion, if you commit or conspire to commit a crime, if you are causing a disturbance, which is what the streamer actually did, or other things, they can actually try you, meaning they can sue you and put you to court and jail you or whatever, or they can revoke your visa. Okay. All right. I hope you know what I'm going with this. Another thing that we do need to remember is that social media is not private and it is not personal. A lot of people say that whatever it is that I do in my space in social media, it's my personal space, so you don't have anything to do with it. So it is social media. So it is not your personal space and it is not your private space. Most importantly, you do not own what you put in social media. The platform actually owns it. I know that nobody reads the terms and conditions, but that's what it says. It says that whatever you put there gets owned by that social media. Okay. So I'm mentioning all of this because I want us all to remember that once BTS comes to the US, they are here to work. So let us not expect them to represent our belief or do what we want them to do in order to support our causes. Don't use them to rebel against your government, my government, whatever government. They're just going to work. Okay, so I think last month, there was this incident about JK and it's done. But let's not do it again because he has nothing. He comes to the US in order to work, and we want them to be able to work, so let's not push them to represent our belief. Okay. Wait, you're saying this is a proposed US law? The feds can't indict you for this because of the First Amendment. This law will be struck down by the Supreme Court. um I hope you are right. So okay, so let me just clarify this. So they are proposing this, that you may be held liable for inciting rebellions. All of this are already in place, by the way. You can't incite rebellion. That's whatever. So they're just adding this to update in accordance with the needs of the times, because editing is common. BTS is a constant subject of this. A lot of videos actually come out. AI comes out, right? So they're being portrayed to be something else, but it's not. So they're going to update that in order to make, because remember, when it comes to the law, if you include something, everything else is an exclusion. So they want to be able to include all of that. If you maliciously snip a video in order to make it appear as if it's something else, you may be held liable. If you say something that defames a person, you will be held liable. All of those things. The Supremes are in cahoots. Okay, so I'm not. I just wanted to make it clear we're moving dangerously close to politics, and I don't want to do that. All I'm saying is, remember that BTS is here to work. If they come here, they're gonna come. They're gonna come here to work. A lot of people, especially the haters, will use this against BTS. They are going to constantly look for a reason to ask BTS to say something that could put them into trouble. So let's just remember that they are Koreans. They're not Americans. So let's not expect them to represent our belief or whatever. They're here to work. So let's allow them to peacefully work. That's it. The First Amendment has limitations. It's not absolute, correct? JK is constantly pursued by sasaengs. Yeah. So I think that rule, at least in certain states, where if you are in a public place, then yes, you have no concept of privacy when you in California. You have no concept of privacy when you are in a public place. What they are proposing is that, for example, if you are walking and they make it appear like we're just walking in the street, and then they make it appear as if you're buying drugs in the street or you're going into an illegal place or something, then you will be held liable because that's you manipulated it. So true armies are, yeah, and that's why I have always been, let's just block it. This that thing about JK just pissed me off because it's not, they will work in the US, right? They will work in the US, and they're here to work. So let's just let them work. Let's not expect them to represent our belief or to be whatever. They're just here to work. Let them work. Let's let them work. Whatever issues we're having, they're out of it. They're Koreans. So, okay. So that was the point. I hope that you're getting what I'm saying because we don't want to get them into trouble. There's a lot more changes that are going to happen, a lot of policies that will be put in place, and a lot of that will be contested by the court or whatever. But my entire, and that's just not something that as I've said, if you want to debate on the whatever, this is not the place for that. This is not the channel. It's an Asian entertainment channel. My only concern is how is that going to affect the boys? And the truth of the matter is, when they come to the US, they are supposed to be here to work, not meddle on internal affairs. So, okay. I hope you get what everything that I'm saying. Yes, Bob, they would lose their visas. So myself will absolutely follow certain Fairlane suggestion. What is the question? Why can't I see Bob? You're all mentioning Bob. I don't see him. Oh, Bob. They could lose their visas. Correct. They could lose their visas. I saw you now. So yes. So just don't it's Korea has their own problems as well, right? So and yeah, they have their own problems. The US has their own problems. When they come here to work. Let's let them work. And let's not get them involved in internal affairs. The same way we shouldn't be getting ourselves involved in their internal affairs because it's their internal affair, right? So we can help the same way they can help, and they can, but to get into like the politics of it, it shouldn't be. Okay. So whatever it is that they're wearing, whoever it is that they are meeting with, let them work. It is work, let them work. BTS was not elected to solve the world's problems, so I wish people would leave them alone. Yeah. So the one thing though I would love to have is accountability. That I would love to have. That I have no problem saying as a media personnel. I do would want people to be held accountable for what they are saying, because it's one thing to criticize your government, and as I've said, even the lawyer is saying that the First Amendment was actually to protect the people against the government. But it's another thing to destroy somebody else's person, right? And to destroy another person. It's one thing to curse at your government, but it's another to destroy the reputation of a person. So that I would really love to, because we are getting way too comfortable spreading lies about a person. And sometimes it does, not sometimes, but oftentimes it actually affects their career, right? And we don't want that to happen. We want people to be able to live and have a decent living, they be able to work and stuff like that. So that I would fully support. People should be held accountable. If you choose to hold the mic or use a pen, then you also, if you want that the benefits of that, then you also need to take the responsibility. I work in a casino. I've been seeing so many Korean passports lately. They're not supposed to. It's illegal in their country. Maybe you shouldn't talk about it. And just report if you see anything. Preach it like it is fairly. It's just that, I've seen so many, and unfortunately, most of the time, the victims are children. As they say stuff about children, you should be held accountable. I think there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, you should be held accountable. It's that, as I've said, opinions should be honored. The chat should be respected, not but it should be respected. But it has to be an opinion. You cannot pass your opinion as a fact. That's one thing. So that I am in full support. It's so wonderful to meet you, Lucy in the sky. Okay, don't report. As far as okay, so next. Do you want to do next? Do you have questions? Imagine going to Vegas and being barred from gambling. That's how one of the cases they filed against Yang Yun Sok, gambling. So they said that he was cleaning his money yeah, so that he can gamble in Las Vegas. Of course, he was proven innocent. So they said they have no proof, whatever. So he was not convicted. But that was one of the cases they filed against him. We need to talk about the Princess Wars, and is this a giant spoiler? Okay, so I do think it is a spoiler, and this is just part of fun. If I don't know if you remember this, but in the early days of BTS, we all love coming up with our own theories, right? So whenever they do something like, oh, maybe this is theory one, theory two, or whatever, this is just a theory. I am in no way claiming this is real. Remember, this is just me joining in on the fun, because this is what it made it fun for all of us in the beginning when we were trying to crack the code, interpret what they are saying. Most of the time we're wrong. Sometimes we were right. So this is just fun. In no way I am saying that this is the actual concept. All right. Just want to make it clear. This is just fun. Okay, as you know, there's a battle of the princesses that's going a battle of the princess that's going on in social media. But RM actually has mentioned the term crown several times. And in his last live stream, he actually sort of not just mentioned the word, but actually mentioned a phrase. He said something about heavy is the crown. Do you want to be a king? And so actually somebody on the live stream actually left a comment asking him if it was a clue, and he denied it. So let's see. But anyway, he wore the crown. Okay, so this is what he said. Heavy's a crown, you want to be king. That's what he said in the live stream. If you go back and listen to it again or watch it again. Okay, so before that, of course, V also posted a picture on social media, and it is this guy, this boy, wearing a crown. Okay, so even before RM posted that picture of himself wearing the crown, V actually did it first. Okay, so at first there were all sorts of theory on what it is. We don't know, but okay. And then, so after RM posted it. Jin, as you know, said, don't take it away from me. I'm the princess. So, but before they can actually settle the fight, V came in and stole the crown. Okay, so he has it as of now. Let's see if there is going to be a continuation in this saga. So let's see if someone else is going to get hold of the crown and continue this saga. But what we do know is that they actually just borrowed the crown from Isle. So this crown was actually worn by Isle It in several events, and then in one of their photo shoots. So maybe it's nothing. Maybe they were just spending some time in with Islet. Maybe they have a collaboration and they saw the crown. Maybe we're just reading too much into it. So as I've said, we're just having fun, and this is the entire point, right? We just love theorizing about what they're doing. Most likely we're wrong. Sometimes we're right. So some things to consider. They are not oblivious, of course, to what is happening in K-pop. I think they're very, very in the know, and they're very smart. Again, these are my assumption. They know that there is a decline in interest in K-pop, and there is pressure on Hybe regarding, as we know, there is a case going on, and most likely they will continue pressing this issue. They probably also know about the court cases. They probably know more than we do, and most importantly, they know that all eyes are on them. They know this. I think they know the people are waiting for them to succeed. That would be armies. And then other people are waiting for them to fail. Okay. Now, so I do think that the crown is a concept. So that's my theory. It's one of their concepts, or probably the hinge, like the major thing. Um, and then, so if you take that thought, the heavy is the crown, do you want to be king? And then take all of this into consideration. There are possible angles to this. So, one of which is that it's all about taking back the crown. This is less likely. I don't think that it's necessarily their personalities to say or do something like this, that they're taking back the crown, but I think it is possible as well. It's about them leaving their throne for several years because they needed to serve the country, and now they are back to reclaim it. So that's one angle. Okay. um and then the other way is, another angle would be the different ways on how they reigned as kings, because he did mention that this is a new BTS, and that this is post-military BTS, and that they have changed. They have actually changed the process. So maybe one subject would be about how each of them sort of traverse their own kingdoms in their solo activities, and how each of them reigned without the other. Okay, so that's another angle. And then the other thing is, um, remember that the crown has been a constant presence in BTS as an element, as a design element. It's mostly associated with RM because he's taken a lot of pictures with the same concept. But aside from RM, there's also JK. He has it tattooed on his hand. So he has a crown. He said that it is for armies, but it's also an element, a design element in golden. So the crown is always there. So it's not just appropriate to RM, it's not just associated to RM, but it's also associated to other members. And then, as you know, the pretty crown actually belonged to Jimin. Um, and he had a crown specially made for him. So they actually never sold this, but it's a pretty crown. And then, of course, August D, the original king. I should say. So in terms of the probability of each of them having their own meaning or own journey towards becoming or reigning as a king, I think they can all do it. Each of them has their own perspective, which makes it a strong concept for them. And it's not just because there is all of this design elements, just because as I've said, in their individual promotions, they were all kings. They all had their own um, kingdoms. They all reigned. So it's not far fetched for them to use it as a concept because they can all contribute. Heavy is the head that wears the crown is a line from Shakespeare's play King Henry. Okay, Jimin used to have a crown on his earpiece. His ancestor. Oh yeah, that was a long time ago. It's like his very first earpiece had a crown. Okay, but I think more than anything, not just as a design element, but all of them, as we know, they all became like they all reigned in their own solo promotion. So it's not a strange concept for them. Um, okay. Bang PD had this planned in 2013 already. Possible, although they did say they changed the process. I mean, said that he changed the process. So other angles could be a reflection on their own crown, like who got affected and suffered as they reigned as kings, as they journeyed towards their kingdom, who actually had to suffer for them and because of them. It could also be what they have accomplished. And it could be that it's not about the awards, but the things that they affected for themselves and for others. Seven kings to seven kingdoms, something like that. Yeah. Or it could also be what they gave up in order to sustain their kingdom, in order to rule their own kingdom. And then finally, which I think is the most plausible or most possible, is that it's actually a journey from kingdom to home, because I do remember that they also kept on mentioning home in the few times that they've actually done live stream. So there's this constant mention of home, that maybe this is about them bringing it back to home, and that is armies, and that is their art and themselves. So it may be that because everyone is waiting for them to come up with something big and something grand, that maybe it is about them saying, yeah, we're done with that. Like what we're here for now is just the art and the music and our artistry and of course armies. So that is my speculation. That the crown is not a coincidence. That is actually a clue. But how they're going to be talking about that crown is everybody's guess. Um, so if they go by, because I remember this very important, like probably one of the most striking or most effective photo that I've ever seen any BTS member has done was RM. So and this is going to lead to this like angle that it's not kings but servants, that at the end of the album that's what their conclusion is, that we may be kings but also servants. And it's this photo of RM in a lifeguard tower, right? Because if you don't actually look at what he was sitting on, he does look like, a king sitting on his throne. It's just that if you really look at it, it's like, oh, it's a lifeguard, it's a lifeguard seat. And we know that a lifeguard saves lives. Like he is sitting on a higher position, not because he is reigning over his kingdom, but because he's watching everybody and making sure that everybody's safe and that he can save anybody who is fighting for their lives. So it may look like he is above everybody else. Therefore, he may look like a king, but in reality, he's a servant. That he's there while everybody else lives their lives. He's there protecting everybody else. So, so that's my theory. That is my, but it's a great, I mean, I would love if this is what they're gonna go for. That's the crown. That's the crown. It came from Isle It Fairly, and I think they were just having fun because I don't think they want or need to take nobody's crown. As I've said, I know we're just having fun. This is the whole reason why it initially clicked for BTS, because we have always had fun with their concepts. that most, as I've said, most of the time we're wrong. Sometimes we get it right. Most of the time we're wrong. But it doesn't change the fact that that we're having fun, and that's what music is supposed to be, and that is what they're here for, to bring us art, to bring us music, and that's what we should be doing. Nobody should be taking this seriously, by the way. It is my theory. So I just love having fun with whatever concept they come up with, whatever they do. And hopefully if people also do the same thing, then we will help in actually keeping their name afloat, right? But never ever think that I am claiming this is the concept. It's probably not. But let's just have fun. You can come up with your own as well. Actually, it's good if people will come up with their own. Maybe it isn't this. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. They know we will run with it. That's probably in the intention. I mean, they've always known armies and how armies will react. I remember one live stream when I think it was J Hope and Jin, was it? And they went live for about 30 seconds and then they turned it off. And then everyone just went, like, all armies were just, what happened? They were live for 30 minutes and 30 seconds, and then they went out, and then they went live again. And they said, like, oh, we know that you were going to get confused, that's why we wanted to do it, because we wanted to confuse you. So it was like, they know how we're going to be reacting, and they probably want that kind of reaction. So obviously they like playing with us, so let's play with them as well, right? Just don't take it seriously. At the end of the day, I think one of the things that we know for sure about BTS is that their artistry is unmatched. And no matter what we guess, no matter what we think, it will never compare to the greatness that they will come up with. That I can promise you. That whatever theory we come up, no matter how crazy it may be, it's nothing compared to what they will come up with. So I'm very, very excited. Dumb question. Can someone tell me why some people on X have parody account on profile? So X actually requires that it be there if you are not a licensed institution, if you're just an individual, because they don't want people to think that you are a professional media account or someone else. I'm pretty sure that they probably, yeah, that they're using those crown. So that crown actually, as we can see, it was worn by Eyelid. They probably just borrowed it from Eyelid. So love your fun theory, Fairly. It would be cute if it's close to their mark. Uh, as I've said, I think whatever they come up with, it's going to be way, way better. It's something that we don't have. I mean, with all the years that they've been coming up with albums, right? We've actually never gone on point. No one has been so on point on what they actually will eventually produce. We'd get like certain clips of it, like, oh, there, for example, like someone actually guessed what RPW meant. So, so before he actually, so remember, he went to the military, right? RM went to the military and he opened an account, RPWP, and someone guessed what it meant, like right place, wrong person. Someone said, oh, this is my guess, that's what it is, and it's going to be the title of his next album. It was right, but his entire theory of what the album was totally off. But it was cool. Okay. True Jimin said after his Muse album, during one of that behind, he said, I look forward to all of your theories, all the incorrect and correct theories. Yeah, just have fun. Go ahead, come up with your own theories as well. If you pay, you can get a blue check too. Yes, if you pay, you can get a blue check. Of the BTS, of the crown is probably just in the clothing costume closet at Hybe. Probably. All BTS concerts are back in IMAX theaters starting end of the week in USA. Not sure outside of the US. Yes, I have my tickets already, so I hope to see some of you. Let's go through. I think we still have time. Yeah, 12 minutes. Let's go through news and updates. So these are just some of the I will make it bigger. I think I can make it bigger. Okay. So I hope that you can see that. But This is just an update on our uh, road to 1 billion, road to 2 billion, and road to 3 billion. Someone requested that I also track winter ahead. So I'm doing that. I added winter ahead for V because they said it's moving fast. So it might actually be very close to friends in crossing 1 billion. Okay. So why is it caught? All right. So for, wait a minute. Let me just share this. I don't know why it was cut, but pardon me. Okay. All right. I'll share the screen with you so that it's complete. Bye, Evie. Okay. So for our road to, I haven't updated the estimated date to cross 1 billion, but for DNA, I hope that you see it clearly. Okay, you can see it. All right. So for DNA, we got 719. Let me take the right so you don't see it. Okay. So for DNA, we have 719 from 716 million. And then life goes on 827 to 834. So this is our next project to push to 1 billion. Life goes on. So please add it to your playlist. After that is going to be DNA. And then astronaut running wild and don't say you love me. Don't say you love me is still the one that's moving the fastest. So it gained almost 40, about 39 million streams. And then running wild from 386 to 389. Astronaut from 592 to 594. Okay. So for Hegum, we're tracking two for Suga, Hegum and the cheetah. So Hegum is most likely the one that's going to cross 1 billion first. 627 to 638. And then the cheetah 417 to 419. You all see it clearly, right? Why is Jin not in? Ah, you're not seeing it. Sorry. There you go. Can you see it? Can you see it now? Background is a better song. Yes. Okay. So DNA. So it most likely after life goes on. After life goes on, the our project. So right now, life goes on is what we're pushing to 1 billion. So please add that to your playlist. After that, it's going to be DNA. But for Jin, so don't say you love me is closing on the astronaut. So it most likely will be the first one to cross 1 billion. Because it moved from 403 to 442. The astronaut moved from 592 to 594. So that's just 2 million. And then Running Wild is 386 to 389. Still good. Okay. And then for Suga, we have Hegum. That is, and the cheetah. So we're tracking two, but Hegum is most likely the one that's going to cross 1 billion the sooner than the two. So 627 to 638. Okay. And then the cheetah is 417 to 419 million. All right. So if you want to push Sugar a little more, then add the cheetah more. And then we have for J Hope, we're tracking a lot. We're tracking Sweet Dreams, Mona Lisa, More, and Killing It Girl. But so it looks like let me make it bigger for my benefit and for yours. Okay. So there for J Hope, so it's Sweet Dreams, Mona Lisa, More, and Killing It Girl. But Killing It Girl is the one that's moving the fastest. So from 126 to 139. And then Sweet Dreams is 134 to 137. Mona Lisa is actually my favorite, I have to confess. 190 to 196. And then More is not moving that fast. It only added 2 million. So 316 to 318. Okay, for RM, this is the slowest moving one from 318 to 323. I don't know what we're doing, but it's just really moving so slow. And then Set Me Free for Jimin is 430 to 433. And then V, 500 for Friends, 534 to 538 did not move that fast. And then we're starting to track Winter Ahead, 446 million this September 15th. So this morning. And then for slow dancing, it's 524 to 527. And of course, for Jungkook, Dreamers is the one. I don't know what's going to be the next one after this, but 492 to 494. But that is all because people are concentrating on his 2 billion. Okay. So for 2 billion, Butter, My Universe, Boy with Love, Fake Love, all for BTS. Okay. And of all that, I think the one that's moving the fastest is My Universe. Um, yeah. So it's 1.499 to 1.506. Okay. So just to note, the August 31 numbers that you see, that already is the final number. So as you know, there are Spotify actually deducts streams at the end of the month, right? So that's already deducted. This is the real August 31 numbers. Okay, and then for Jimin, we have two, Who and Like Crazy. So who is most likely going to cross 2 billion real soon? So he is 1.959 August 31 and then 1.984 September 15. And then Like Crazy is 1.387 to 1.390. As only one song tracking for RM right now, yes, because the others are not, like, it's just moving so slow for RM. So yeah, unfortunately, one song for now. I can track others, but I don't, like, it's not moving fast enough. Okay, and then for Jungkook, we have Standing Next to You, Left and Right, and 3D. So I think for Jungkook, the concentration is on Standing Next to You because we want to push it to 3 billion. But Left and Right, 1.112, and all the way to 1.115 for September 15. And then 3D, 1.011 to 1.016. RM is in IR for the music, not just like Suga. In for the music. Okay. Not just in for the music. Now for the road to 3 billion, we have two songs that cross 2 billion, pushing into 3 billion. Seven for Jungkook and BTS Dynamite. So for seven, it's 2.523 to 2.539. And then Dynamite is 2.116 to 2.123. Okay. So now you know, so you can know which songs to add. And then I will be tracking from now on. I'm going to track the deletions of the streams. I also have a record of other singers of other acts, so I'll be able to track how their streams did. So a lot of the things that you see on social media, especially on X, claiming that this act actually has this much deletions and whatever, most of them are incorrect. A lot of them are inaccurate. So usually when I post this on Patreon, I do it exclusive to the members because I don't want um, people to use it against the members or whatever. For V, he has 1 billion. So Love Me Again for V. There you go. For V, we have Love Me Again. It moved from 1.073 to 1.075. Do you track on Apple as well? Apple does not publish the number of streams per song. That's the problem. So when you see, there's actually one account on X and Facebook, and they claim that they have the streams of Apple. Maybe they do, but as far as I know, Maybe they have inside information. But as far as I know, Apple does not publish the number of streams. The ranking of streams is what they publish, but not the number of streams. Okay, so I will publish this on Patreon. And then we have, where are you? Okay, so we have the streams, the summary of their streams per act. This is just for BTS. So BTS total number of streams is 44.885 billion. Okay, they're the most streamed group of all time. And then Jin is now at 2.85, all of his songs. And then this is actually good because he owned as a solo act without any featured artist. Total number of streams is 2.490. And then total number of streams, including as a featured artist or whatever, is 2.85. And then combined August D and Suga, total number of streams is 4.579. And then as a solo, 2.239. And then as a lead, 3.151. So I already combined. This was taken from K War, by the way. So I already combined Suga and August D. If you go to K Warb, they separated Suga and August D. So you have to add the two numbers. J Hope is 3.426 general streams overall across all credits. As a solo without features or whatever, total number of streams is 1.960. As a lead, meaning he has collaborators, but he was the lead artist, 3.169 billion. Okay. Everyone, by the way, is they're impressive. Okay. And then RM is 2.848 across all credits. As a solo without collaborators, 1.137. As a lead, including songs with collaborators, 2.119. Streaming money is small, very small. Okay, but it's kind of like a marketing strategy more than anything. Okay, RM, we're done. Jimin, so 7.379 across all credits. And then as a solo artist, 6.002. Okay. Now, if you include the ones with collaborators, but he is the lead, it's 6.765. Okay, so right now his numbers are actually good. I don't have to explain. Okay, V is the third best when it comes to overall streams, excluding BTS, by the way. So v has 5.090 billion streams. As a solo, this is very good. It's 4.060. And then as a lead, including those with collaborators, it's 4.937. And then for Jungkook, the king of streaming, is 9 point next to BTS, 9.569 across all credits. As a solo, just him, no collaborators, 3.395. And then if you include collaborators, but he is the lead, it is 8.112. Okay. So now you know where they are. Okay, next. Most streamed K-pop daily albums. You have to be proud of our boys. This is for September 13. So Muse is back at number 1. Echo is back at number 2. Golden remains at number 3. Ruby, and then Proof, which was released forever ago, but it's still ranking. And then Rosie, Karma. This is for Alter Ego, and Color, Outside the Lines. Are you impressed with the boys? Okay. Next, only in BTS world where we by Purple Haze, only in BTS world where we qualify songs of the same artist with different screen names. Yeah. Okay, so they are the best-selling artist as well, best-selling Korean act and Asian native act of all time, worldwide, selling over 137.8 million units globally. Okay. And then if you can just visit the X account of UNICEF because they posted about Love Yourself campaign. So let's just type it up if you can, leave some purple hearts, or if you can like it, if you can share it, please do so. They posted twice actually about BTS. So about this specific campaign. So please let's hype it. It's, they're doing something great. The other thing is the National Museum of Korea in its article mentioned the cheetah by Suga as one that plays a role in reinterpreting tradition in a modern way. So he was recognized. If they said if you go there, there actually is something about him. So they recognized his efforts in the cheetah. So it truly is one of the greatest tracks of all time. Okay. And then for the first time since it was released, Spring Day is out of melon. Come on. I don't know how to. I'm not Korean, so I don't know. And I'm not always concerned about Korean charts or Korean awards or whatever. But this is something that I actually want to keep on the chart. So I don't know how to help, but it's out of the chart for the first time. It's been there for 447 consecutive weeks. It's not bad, but I wanted to keep it there forever. So I don't know how to help, but we have to stream. If there's a way for me to help, let me know because I want to keep it there actually. I haven't seen Spring Day actually react to it, but okay. Jungkook 7 has re-entered 156 on US Spotify daily chart. So this is good news because this is exclusive for the US. So he's back in the top 200 and he also surpassed 6.1 billion streams on Spotify for his album Golden. So he's the first Asian native act. So sad, but what an amazing run. It is a very impressive run. I mean, come on. 447 consecutive weeks, but I still want to keep it in the chart. So if there is a way for me to help, I would help. Um, Okay, so and then Jimin actually well I've told you about it before already in the chart, but 6 billion Spotify streams across all solo credits. So he has the most number of streams for solo songs unaccompanied. So no featuring, no collaboration or whatever, 6 billion. Congratulations to him. And then of course Hegum got 100 million YouTube views if you want to keep on watching it. Play it just once a week, it's actually going to make a difference. Not once a week, but once a day. It's not going to make a difference. You don't have to watch it over and over again in the same day. Just once a day. If you play several songs on YouTube once a day, it will do great. It will really improve the chart. So please do that. And then Islet actually participated in the festival, rock festival in Japan. And they did well. They were so good. Cordis also broke the record for the most streamed album for the first week for a fifth gen group. It was held by Zero Base One. It was held for 2 weeks, for 2 years. So they are now the number one. So Zero Base One had 11.2 million streams. Cordis had 18 million. And I'm telling you guys, they are the next targets, by the way, meaning by haters. They will be targeted next. So these boys are too good. Also, if you can please check out the single of Cheon of Twice. The title is now it's slipping my head, but it's such a great. Okay, but Cheon, but it's great. So if you can, the visuals are great. If you can check her out on YouTube, please. So it's really you'll enjoy it. I promise you'll enjoy the music video. Le Seraphim has been so far all of the venues have confirmed they were sold out. So as you know, that's sort of like the ultimate test on whether a venue was really sold out. So Kia Forum actually announced it that Le Seraphim actually sold it out. So congratulations to them, and their name was also included in the wall. If you've ever been there, they have a wall and they add the names of the artists that sold out the venue, and Le Seraphim's name was actually in it. So congratulations to them. They are headed to Seattle next. And then Hybe has a new audition project, World Scout the Final Piece. And Sakura and Kazuha will be there as judges, and so are Isle it's Iroha and yeah. What's her name? Starts with the letter M. Night MLB, good night MLB. The Weaver's video are played through YouTube and the audio for listening parties are through Spotify. Correct. Mocha. There you go. Mocha of Isle It will be the judges. That's it. Those are my updates. So you know what to add to your playlist if you want to help in the drive to road to 1 billion, 2 billion, and 3 billion. And yeah, so I will see. They have questions before I say my goodbyes. Mocha, yeah, I remember her name. This is what you get. I did not sleep a lot because I we're doing some repairs in the house. So I had to wake up early because the person who's going to do the repairs was gonna come in. So if you have no heaters, you're not successful. Correct. If you have no heaters, you're not successful. So I love these boys. I'm starting to really like them. I'm excitedly watching their career. So okay. Didn't V win something? What did he win? Is your family safe in the Philippines? They are safe in the Philippines. They are safe. Yes, thank you. They're safe in the Philippines. Those that are in London, I saw the protest. I hope things are okay. As far as my friend told me, I have a friend there who's just outside of London. And according to them, him and his family, they're fine. So I hope everyone was safe. They said there were no riots. This was really just protests. So thank you. I hope that everyone is okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will see you next Wednesday. No, not next Wednesday, but this coming Wednesday. If there's anything you want me to cover, let me know. But until then, thank you so much and see you next time. Bye.